What's up, guys? Been a few days since I've been in here. Don't know how much I'll be able to get done today, but I had a pain come up in my ankle. Just felt a lot like a sprained ankle, but man, it's damn near crippled me over the past week. I have been bedridden just about. Still a little sore today, but I'm hoping I can get some work done. Trying to see if my segments lined up just right. I do think they're off just a hair. I ain't too upset about it. I want to get better at it. It's something I'm kind of new at, something I'm experimenting with. I didn't expect it to be perfect at the first try. I gotta cut some excess off this thing. Trying to grind as little as possible on that stuff. Man, the dust it produces is absurd. Everything in this place is covered in dust because of me. That ain't much to have to cut off with the saw, but if I ground that down into dust, man, that's enough to cover your whole damn car. A little more like a knife handle. I got to turn my other fan on. It's a bad idea. It got extremely dusty. I don't know how long I'll work today. I'm just gonna work until I get to hurting, I guess. Or until I get to hurt to a point I can't take it. I had a bunch of people tell me they thought it was gout. But I'll say this, from what I have heard about gout, it hasn't been that painful. Why? I just don't think that's what it is. On the other hand, I don't know what the hell it is. So, there's that. But the swelling has gone away. So that's a good thing. Stevie, that puts a nail in the coffin for my knives beating you to Alaska. That's not going to happen now. It is what it is. So how y'all been? Already got 47 people in here. Well, for those of you who aren't normally here, I go live from my shop sometimes when I'm making knives. This is my favorite model I make. This is the Heathen Satanto version. I understand not everybody needs a nice, hardy, tactical fixed blade every day, but these are my favorite thing to make. They're not the easiest thing I make by any means, but they're my favorite model. So if you told me, hey man, I just want, give me one of whatever your favorite is, that's what you'd get. I gotta take this handle up. I'm gonna put, so I can pour my pins in this. No point going any further until the pins are done. It's just weird to think of all the crazy health issues I have from not taking care of myself. I didn't expect a swollen ankle. Just come out of nowhere. Like I didn't roll it, I didn't do anything. It just started hurting one day out of the blue. And it certainly has cost me time. shut me down there for a bit. We'll get to grinding here in a minute, guys. We'll get to doing something cool. I just gotta, this is part of it. Something that has to be done. I'm gonna pour up some epoxy resin. Add some mica powder to it and pour it through these holes, so it'll go all the way through, create a pin to give you, to prevent the handles from shearing off. But because I pour them instead of just using a solid one, it gives you that bond all the way through. You're bonding. You know, the scales are now bonded to the knife blank itself, and they're bonded to each other. I've been doing it for a while, done a lot of testing on it, and it seems to hold up really well. I'm in the triple digits of knives I've made at this point. I've had the handles come off, break on one knife, and I didn't do it this way, so. This is my new procedure. It has worked really well for me so far. Couldn't ask for any nicer weather to work in today, that's for sure. Freaking beautiful here. Yeah, I've got through holes drilled in the handles too. Yeah, so that it passes through. Try to make it as strong as possible. The thing I like about it is I'm not stuck just buying basic Crayola colors for my pens. Like when you go to buy pens, first of all, they're too expensive for what they are. And you can only pick from a very basic color palette. Like, you can't get that color blue in a pen. And at some point in time, you know, even this rod right here, it was just it was a liquid too. It's just a matter of mixing petroleum products together that makes all this stuff we use every day. Is Kathleen here? That's good to hear. I hope you're having a good day, Kathleen. So now I'm just going to pour this at the knife level. I'm just going to pour this into these holes slowly, and it will pass through the scale into the knife blank and through the through holes I've got in there. It should make for a very strong bond. And my hands are shaking. So I just pour it till it bubbles up on top there. There's going to be a little excess. That's alright, all that'll get ground off anyway. Leave it just like that. Now, I won't touch that for a couple of days. Like I said, it says you can work with it in 12 hours, but y'all probably tired of hearing me saying this. Whatever it tells you the work time is, at the very least double it, if not triple it, because I've had much better results the longer I let that stuff cure. Yes, Gary. Yes, sir. Yeah, I do everything beneath the scale at 36 grit too, so you got all those little micro poruses for the handle for it to adhere to. Here's one I did a few days ago. This is my main goal today, is to come get this one finished up. This is for a local customer. So now the scales are epoxied to the metal itself. There's holes that pass through so that the epoxy goes literally from one scale to the other, as well as the pins. So we're going to grind this excess off, get these handles shaped. When I peel the tape off the other side, it's already just 2 perfect orange pins. Poor old belt. I got every dollar out of that thing, man. Let's see if I got something left to do. It certainly earned its keep. Oh, this one might be too big. Yeah, wrong belt. That one definitely paid for itself. Round off them blobs. Now they're the same on both sides. I gotta turn this other fan on, guys. Hang on. slightly less aggressive belt. You dig all those deep ditches into your handles with that 36 grit. Just a lot of work to get them back out. Wait for 120 grit belt. What's up, Jacob? So now we're gonna add some jimping to this handle. Sorry about that. To give it some grip, because this is a hunting / skimming style knife. Air's already on, that's good. And I'll show y'all right here how we're gonna do that. Let me grab my tools. get this on screen or not. I go back over that on the Scotch-Brite wheel, smooth up the edges so it's nice and comfortable. That would definitely add some grip to it, and it exposes those layers of G10, so it looks good. Just like that. Quick and easy. case you're wondering about the blade steel, this is that new Pops Pro Cut. It's 65 HRC. So this knife will require maintenance. And you can't just leave it outside in the wet. It will rust on you if you don't take care of it. I do a lot of high-end stainless steels, but I love the finish that thing does, man. That's right, Tyler. Coat this bad boy, that's what I'll do. I'm gonna take it and get it lasered, then coat it up in some mad wax and get this off to the customer. I like that layered G10. You can see how it starts exposing the layers. Yeah, that one's done. And I've got lots and lots left to do. It's really all going to depend on what my body allows today, to be honest with you. I really wish I'd started this a lot younger. I didn't have all these health issues. G-Ball, if you're still here, I want to show you something. But you can't talk about it. He knows it's coming, but he has no idea what I did. This is a knife I made for Mr. B's Blades. Like I said, he hasn't seen it. He has no idea what it looks like. Before I show you this, these are not bought scales. I made these scales myself, custom, for B's. I really hope he's not watching, because he wants this to be a surprise. I'm sure he's not, he's at work. But no screenshotting and sending it to him, please. You'll hurt his feelings more than mine. But I'm really, really proud of those, man. It turned out beautifully. I got a little hand sanding left to do on them, and that'll be done. Thank you, Jesse. Saw the honeycomb, had to subscribe. Thanks, man, I appreciate it. So, I post most of my work to Instagram. So if you go to my Instagram, it's EDGY_American_Blades. You can see some of my previous work there. That one's not on there. Like I said, I have to keep that knife incognito. He doesn't want to experience it until he opens it on his live stream. I'll have it shipped out probably by tomorrow. Of course, it's got to go get the sheath made, and then he'll get it. I appreciate it, G-Ball. I'm really proud of that. Hey, I don't. It's something I'm trying to work on. It's just going to be a landing page. It's not going to be a point of sale. It'll just be a landing page where you can see some of my work and get my contacts, you know, in case you want to get in touch with me. But you know, I've got a lot. I've got a batch of knives right now I'm working on that have to go out to they're headed off to Alaska to Northern Knives. Wish I had one that was cleaned up and ready to show. Do I not? Really? Yeah, everything's kind of mid-process right now. I can't really show. I don't really have anything cleaned up and ready to show yet. I'm still working on those. But it's my Thug model. If you go to my Instagram, you'll see the Thugs. To be honest, guys, I don't know how I'm gonna work today. I don't feel very good. I don't know why. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm not feeling great. Yeah, there it is. This one right here belongs to Mr. Aiden Miguel. Aiden paid me for this knife over a year ago. And typically I would be really concerned with the fact that I've had it this long. But he ordered this knife before I was ever ready to make it. I'd never made a tanto. And he just paid me for it. So whenever you make your first tanto, it's mine. So that's Aiden Miguel's tanto heated. G-Ball, whenever you're ready, buddy, you let me know. Not right this minute, though. But I do love working with crew wear. I typically run my crew wear about 65. I've never really been super concerned with making really tough, hard-to-use knives. I like to concentrate more on them being thin and slicey. But, you know, this is an 8-inch thick Pro Cut. This is plenty tough enough, man. You know, if you want something to go outside and baton through a pine tree, I can make that. I have. But I don't typically make them in batches and then put them out there to try to sell. Those are typically like custom order type things. I was really motivated when I got here. Yeah, Yako, I'm glad you're here, man. I owe you an apology too. I haven't even been able to go to the post office, but I'm going tomorrow, so I'll get you your knife back to you. Yeah, I'm not gonna make any excuses. I just, I haven't been well. I got some more grinding to do. I got all these pins I've got to get ground down, so I guess I'll just run the camera and do some of that while y'all watch. Probably tired of seeing me sitting there talking already. I got that ground down nice and flush. You have to dip this just like you do the blade when you're grinding it. You get that Spaniard cube too hot, over about 350 degrees, it will destroy the epoxy. Doesn't matter what you're grinding, you have to keep everything cool. Hope somebody likes green. Doesn't mean everybody has to like green. Somebody has to like it. Really proud of that. This is all I really cared to get finished today. It was really my only concern anyway. And I got it done, so. Bacon Sunrise. Desert Sands. What are we naming off here? Yeah, it does look like a topo map. You're right, AE. But I apologize. I'm going to have to sit down for a minute. For those of you new here, I've had some pretty serious heart complications, and the rest of my body is just wore ass out. If I could work 3 days a week, 8 hours a day, I could be making some pretty damn good money. It's a lot of work to get it done, but the only thing holding me back is me. Like, yeah, I just can't get in here and get after it like I'd like to. I knew my ankle was going to be an issue today, but that's really not what's bothering me. I don't know what's bothering me. I just don't feel very good. But I appreciate you guys joining this old crippled man while he makes knives and rocks in his recliner. Yeah, Crispy, I know you do. Yeah, I have people ask me all the time, how big do I want to take this knife making thing? And I'm like, man, I just like to be able to maintain what I'm doing. So, well, I'm telling you, that's the thing. I've been resting up for a week, man. I was going to take the entire week off and let my ankle heal completely. Like I said, it's just, it's a little uncomfortable at the moment, but it's not hurting me. But the only reason I'm here today is I had to take my daughter to work. We had to drop her car off to the shop, and I can't pick her up till 4 o'clock Central Time. So I had 5 hours, and I knew if I drove home, I wouldn't want to turn around and come back. Yeah. I know, but I'm here till 4 anyway. It's not going to make for very riveting content, but I'm going to work a few minutes when I can, and the rest of the time I'll have to take it easy. Whew. But I've got some lighter work I can be doing. I don't have to push myself very hard. I don't have any scale liner material right now. I'd be working on scales. I ordered some from Alpha Knife Supply, but I'm still waiting on it. I'm going to get a knife jigged up. We'll grind some bevels. That's something I can do sitting down. Not like in a chair. I can sit on my stool and do that. You know, there may come a day where I have to modify my work conditions where I can just sit down and do all this stuff, but and I really don't want to, not yet. Really don't want to be stuck sitting. That'd be the only way I can work. Apologize, guys. I'm looking for a knife blade to grind right this minute. You'd think a knife maker would know where his knives are. Unfortunately, that doesn't apply to me. Because I am bad at unorganized. I found it. You know why I couldn't find it? Because I was trying to be organized and actually hung it over there on a pin where it's supposed to be. Like you'd think that'd be the first place I look, where the heat-treated unground knives hang. But I did not. It's hard. I don't know where anything's at. Maybe this isn't meant to be today. That's kind of how it's starting to look. There's the screw I was looking for. I have no idea where my Allen wrench is. Yeah, because I was looking for it. G-Ball, what's this you're talking about? You got a grinder? That's awesome, man. I don't know what a MXT 500 is. But I saw you talking about a grinder a few minutes ago. I know you guys can't see, I'm just clamping this blade up in my jig so I can get this bevel ground. Since Patina's here, I guess I'll put my gloves on so he don't yell at me. Draw those lines on there so on this next pass I can see where the belt's actually touching now because I changed my angle. That's exactly what I wanted, bottom half. Oh, y'all talk about radios. As you can see on my red lines, they're all the way at the top now. That's how much metal I've removed already. Jacob, I don't really have any merch, buddy. I've had t-shirts made in the past. I say that, Patina, do you know if Longbone Apparel has any of my stuff up on the side or not? I don't know if he runs those in batches or... Jacob, Mad Jocko's saying that Longbone Apparel has still got some EDGY American merch. There you go. There's the link, Jacob. You can go right there and get an EDGY American shirt. Grinding out nicely, guys. And the coin purse? I didn't know about the coin purse. I know everything on there was designed by Broadcast Knives or Longbone Apparel. He's actually the one that designed my Maker's Mark. Let's got that side done. We'll flip it over and do the other. I did. I wouldn't have my arm laying here if I didn't. That is a serious downside to my setup. If you don't take that thing off, it will bite you. Especially if you're as forgetful as I am. because of my health conditions, the fact that I can't just come in and work for hours at a time, when I do come to the shop, I like to have a small goal in mind. If I can accomplish that goal, and possibly even accomplish something else while I'm here, I feel like everything else is a bonus. Like having this knife ground is a bonus. It's not part of what I came here to do. Now, guys, this being a Tanto, I have to do this tip. So I'm going to be honest with you. My hands aren't steady enough to do that tip today. That either makes or ruins that knife. And as shaky as I'm feeling, I don't believe I'll be grinding that secondary tip today, because I don't want to ruin that knife. So I'm going to stop that one right there. Take a break for a minute. G-Ball, I had no idea you were a prepper, buddy. We need to talk sometime. I'd love to pick your brain and bounce some things off of you, but prepping's what got me into knives. Yeah, some of the prepping equipment I bought, I know for a fact that there's better stuff out there, but I was just content in the beginning with getting my basic prepping needs. And you learn very fast what's important and what's not. But when I got to my knife, many of you already know I bought that $29 Cold Steel GI Tanto. Guys, that's still a great knife for the money. But I very quickly started learning that there was better things out there. And I started down this rabbit hole of cutlery. And I haven't been able to look back. Sometimes I feel like I've neglected some of the other preparedness things I need to be doing because I only concentrate on knives now. But I tell people all the time, man, you don't have to be a full-blown, the world's going to come to an end type prepper. You know, you can start with very basic things to prep. You know, if you don't have, in my opinion, just as a normal citizen, not considering yourself a prepper at all, if you don't have at least 100 gallons of drinking water on your premises somewhere, you're in trouble. And once you have 100, you'll realize you need 1,000. But you know, you can start off very simple, man. Just a couple dollars a week when you go to the grocery store, you know, to buy some bottled water. You know, I drink a lot of Milo's unsweet tea. I wash that jug out. I fill it back up with water. You know, rice and beans are extremely cheap to buy and put up. And I pray to God that the day you die, all that stuff is still sitting there and completely goes to waste. That means you lived a good life. But man, the day you're watching other families stand in line at a food handout, you see the anarchy and chaos that breaks out around that, and you know that Even though it's rice and beans, it's not gourmet cuisine, but you know that you can go home and feed your family and keep them alive. That is your job as a man, in my opinion. It's not just your job as a man to provide them with a laptop and take them out to eat and new clothes every school year. It's your job as a man to make sure that on some level, whether it's 3 days, 30 days, 90 days, 3 years, whatever, to make sure on some level you can keep your family alive if that paycheck stops coming or if the lights go out. You know, you're absolutely right, G-Ball. I hope I never have to use, you know, I've got an AR that I've dumped way too much money into, you know, suppressors and triggers and bolt carrier groups and all that stuff. And I really, I'm not in the hobby of going to shoot anymore, but I make myself go just to stay in good practice at it. But man, I hope to God that thing rusts to pieces one of these days. You know, I hope I never have to use that thing for what it's made for. You know. Yeah, absolutely, G-Ball. You know, there's nothing better than, I was at a family reunion a couple years ago, I'll never forget, man. And it was time to start cooking. And they broke out all the meat. And they'd bought it in bulks. It was sealed in this really tough plastic. They couldn't tear it. And the women started asking the men, hey, who's got a pocket knife? And I was the only one there. I just couldn't believe that. Of all these men in my family, people I've looked up to, not a single one of those guys was able to open a package of meat. And that was on a beautiful sunny day, you know, when we're celebrating family and nothing is wrong. So, you know, having those little things, you know, I don't smoke anymore, but I've probably got 30 lighters. I've got, you know, I have no need at this point in my life to start a fire with a ferrocerium rod, but I have them. You know, I've got pill bottles full of dryer lint and Vaseline. But like I said, I hope one of these days my kids throw in the garbage after my funeral. But if I ever need them, I've got them. So, you know, and hey, that's a good point. Using your daily preps isn't a bad idea, because then you get a really good idea of how well does it work, how long does it last, does it need batteries, all those types of things. You know, like I said, I hope we all die and never needed any of that crap. But it is your job as a man, as a husband, as a father, to be able to take care of your loved ones in the very worst of times. And, you know, that's all I'm trying to do. Crispy, growing up in West Virginia, I'm sure you grew up with those skills just as everyday life. You know, I grew up with those skills as everyday life. You know, it wasn't fun, but I'm glad I have them now, because so many people don't. You know, if you've never scraped the blue mold off of loaf bread to eat the part that's not moldy, you lived a pretty good life, man. Yeah, I've told this story several times. I didn't realize that we were poor till I was probably I'd say I was probably 10 or 12 years old. My mother was at work working her second job. She was always at work. We literally never saw her except for on Sundays. And my little sister came to me and told me she was hungry. So I went to make her something to eat for dinner. And as I was making her a ketchup sandwich on bread that I'd scraped the mold off of. Yes, a ketchup sandwich. It was literally 2 pieces of stale bread with some ketchup smeared between them. And I realized it was the 3rd day in a row I had fed her that. That's when I knew we were poor. That's when it hit me that we were poor. We weren't unhappy, but we were poor. And I think that led to both of us being fat when we got older. When we got older and could buy food, we could eat what we wanted, we never stopped. No, Kyle, we don't get our Wonder Bread pre-sliced. We do now. Yeah. We had a good hot meal every Sunday. We either had fried chicken or pork chops, mashed potatoes, beans, and fresh bread on Sunday. But we didn't eat meat. And we didn't eat meat every day. And the reason I'm talking about that chaos that insists in those food lines was, I remember going with my mother to the food stamp office. I don't remember how often it was. It don't seem like it was once a month. It seemed like it was every couple months. We would go when they were handing out the cheese and the buckets of peanut butter. So like maybe cream of wheat, some type of grain. And I don't think we ever went when I didn't see people fighting each other there. Like, people would fight you and physically harm you to take your block of cheese away from you. Or your bucket of peanut butter. I remember the peanut butter was good. You had to stir it every time you opened it. Because you'd stir it and there was like an inch deep layer of oil on top of it. It would separate. I don't know how they keep it from separating now. Hey, I know what you're talking about, man. Women back in the day, they'd pinch a penny till it was as thick as a piece of notebook paper. Stir it in the fridge upside down. Did that keep it from separating, Luke? Luke, you don't cross me as the type that grew up poor. And I don't mean that offensively. But I remember that government cheese made a hell of a grilled cheese. And growing up poor, grilled cheese was a delicacy because, like I said, you rarely ever had fresh bread. So if you grilled it, and my grilled cheese wasn't like yours. We rarely had butter. When my mother would cook, she had a Crisco can. And when she'd cook, she'd pour that oil back into the can and let it re-solidify, and it turned this ugly yellow color, and it had little chunks in it from what you'd cooked last. I didn't know Kirkland separated too. But it'd sit right by the stove where it would stay warm to try to keep it from getting hard. And I'd smear that on that stale bread to grill my grilled cheese, and it made it like the bread wasn't stale. But, yeah. Just too dead. That's funny, Luke. You've gotten funnier over time has gone by. Well, Kyle, we didn't all grow up upper middle class like you did, buddy. And I have no hatred for you for that. You know, everybody grew up in a different situation. I still got plenty of time to do work, guys, but I'm going to be honest. I am not feeling it. Just don't feel energetic at all. I also did something today I've never done in my life. At 54 years old, I went and paid $55 to have my oil changed. It was literally sick at my stomach the whole time. I only saved about 25 bucks, or I would have saved about 25 bucks doing it myself. but I just can't climb under there and do it anymore. Yeah, I know a lot of people that do that too. I know people that prefer it. But we were not mayo eaters. When I was a kid, nobody in my household liked mayo, so we never had it. Yeah. Teach me English language. Brazil, you're already typing in better language than I can speak, buddy. My redneck English is not what you want to learn. But G-Ball was especially hurtful to me because I worked at Express Oil Change for 17 years. So the thoughts of ever paying one of those places, knowing what they've got in an oil change, is stomach churning for me. You know, they buy all that stuff in bulk. They got very little in it, I'll put it that way. I don't know what just happened. It said we disconnected for a second. Duolingo. I don't know it's from my Bangladesh there, Brazil, but I can tell you this right now. You can call me racist, you can call me whatever you want. I do not do business of any kind with anybody with an Indian accent. And I know that sounds harsh, but I am so sick of people calling me with a Middle Eastern accent trying to scam me out of something. If you got a Middle Eastern accent, I'm out. I'm just fucking out. I'm not talking to you on the phone. I'm not giving you any of my information. I'm not doing business with you in any way. If my only option to sell knives was to do it overseas and have to deal with that accent, I'd fucking quit. So, yeah. That's right, Kyle. Well, when you say hello to my wife, her name is Agata. Hello, Agata. For Indians, call them beta. Means little one. I just don't deal with them, man. I just hang up. And you know, and I'm sure there's some good, honest people out there that speak with that accent, but I'm fucking out. I ain't dealing with you. You know, they've bought up all the convenience stores around here, and I'll drive past 5 of them to find one that's not. Yeah. Kyle's much less lenient, Luke, if he doesn't know you. G-Ball, that's hard for what you do for a living, dude. Like, you know, somebody gives somebody else your number to refer you for something. It sucks that they can't get in touch with you because of that, but I understand. Like, I'm surprised I haven't got 3 or 4 spam phone calls since I've been on here, but yeah. But I'm fixing to call it, guys. I'm gonna clean up a little bit and drive over to where she works and just wait in the parking lot because I'm clearly not getting anything done here at the moment. Yes, Jacob, he is. Kyle will put the edge on your clip point. Look, which time by Kyle for 10 seconds. Oh. Yeah, that makes sense, G-Ball. I need to figure out how to do that on my phone. But my foot is starting to hurt. That's quite unfortunate because I hadn't been on it much. I was really hoping this had healed up by now. But secondary subjects to Tori, we won't be doing any debating today, buddy. I'm fixing to get off here and go home. But I appreciate everybody hung out. Clearly the algorithm is a wreck. So love y'all. See y'all later.